Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I decided to do a little quick video. It's not going to be that short because I'm going to go to school. I go to school at 8 o'clock, but I'm going to go a little late because I'm going to do a video for you guys, and it's about FNAF information. The FNAF history
is only successful thanks to the invention of Let's Plays. Just like how Jacksepticeye only exists thanks to my symbiote, Markiplier. When I was 13 years old, my mommy got me a click-and-play program, and boy have I been hooked to video game design ever since. Fast forward to the future, the 90s, where I learned to program using the best graphic design technology ever made. Fusion. I could have upgraded to Unity later, but all the buttons confused me. Everything made more sense in the 90s, even Christianity. As you may have noticed, most of my games are Christian value-oriented or kid-friendly. Oh, you didn't know? Yeah, I made like 20 Christian games before I made Five Nights at Freddy's. You see, God told me I was destined to make video games. Just not Christian video games, because they were all financial failures. I guess you could call me the Joseph Smith of game design. Because of all my failures, I just wasn't sure if God existed or not. So I decided to create a game from the darkest depths of my soul. Chipper & Sons Lumber Company. Another financial failure. Then I decided to make FNAF. People thought the characters from Chipper & Sons looked and acted like creepy animatronics. So I thought, why not just own that and make a game about creepy animatronics? If you can't tell from an RPG I made, FNAF World, I don't actually know anything about video games. I just want to design them. It'd kind of be like making a game about abortion without knowing any of the scientific facts on the matter. I actually made a game like that. It's right over there. See? Well, some people think that FNAF is innovative because it focused more on the fear rather than the game design. The truth is, I don't actually know anything about horror games. I just wanted to make one. I guess every Trump has their wall. I knew this game was going to be good because it scared the bejeebus out of me. And, thanks to word of mouth, it was able to get around to just the right amount of Let's Players. Word spread to Yummy Mash, who recommended it to Markiplier, who lent his grace to Jacksepticeye, who bore witness to PewDiePie, which allowed MatPat to write all of this backstory of lore for me. As you can see, this game hit the perfect circle jerk for all the Maker Studios Let's Players. Coincidence? I think not. And by the way, about the lore, I basically make everything up as I go. MatPat's theories are pretty close to the truth, but he spends more time trying to figure out the story than I do writing it. So that's Five Nights at Freddy's. Now I gotta go back to being a recluse. Good luck finding out more about me. This video already contains more information than my Wikipedia.
Hey guys, it's Grant again, and today I wanted to talk about Charlie from the Twisted One. This video is sponsored by Movement Watches. Click that link in the description and use coupon code TREACICLE for $15 off. Stay tuned till the end for more information. Hey everybody, it's Grant again, and I'm back with another fantastic product. You need it, you want it, it's the Ultimate FNAF Guide. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I've recently got the Freddy Files and did a bit of a reading. The book came out recently, and turns out it was basically a waste of money. The Freddy Files is basically a guide to the FNAF games and books, but doesn't really go into any new information about the franchise. What it does do is combine the entirety of the story with the most prominent fan theories into one easy-to-read book. It also has FNAF-themed meals. So now, instead of Chica's cupcake eating you, you can show that pastry who's boss with your own choppers. But that's besides the point for this video. I mean, if you want a FNAF cooking show, let me know in the comments, but somehow I doubt that's gonna gain any momentum. But what do I know? Maybe Treacicle should have been a cooking channel. Stop rambling, Grant. Get back on topic. What I was saying before my pastry tangent is that the FNAF story is complex and confusing. And now we have a book that lays out the entire thing. There's just one problem. Who wants to read a bunch about the games we've already played? And that's where I come in. This video is going to be your guide to FNAF. The entire story. Every theory, every question, and every answer from the very first game to the very last book. I'm about to take all the information we know and lay out everything you never realized you missed in the FNAF universe. It's time to put all the puzzle pieces together. So I hope you're ready to open up the FNAF franchise like no one ever has before. Are you ready for... Did I get you? Did you pee a little bit? It's okay if you have. We all have at one point or another. Especially when it comes to FNAF. These jump scares are around every corner. And speaking of corners, let's talk about the game. Yeah, I didn't really have a good transition there. I was feeling a little cornered. So, first thing we learned in FNAF 1 is we have a brother in night shift arms. Phone Guy. Phone Guy is our connection to the past for this game. He relays pretty much all the information we get about what happened to the Fazbear franchise prior to the game. So, that being said, we learned a couple of things from Phone Guy. First of all, Phone Guy used to work in the same office where we are currently barricading ourselves in from the animatronics, much like a furry zombie apocalypse scenario. Secondly, we learned that if we die, quote, a missing persons report will be filed within 90 days. Or as soon as the property and premises have been thoroughly cleaned in bleach and the carpets have been replaced. Yeah, that doesn't sound sketchy at all. Now with hindsight being 2020, that probably should have been our first clue that perhaps more murders had taken place on Fazbear property than was initially let on. And it's also very likely that someone who works there is involved. I mean, that line is basically saying, yeah, we'll file a report for someone missing, not dead, just missing. But only after we've disposed of any and all evidence so we can't be suspected of a crime. Just FYI, if you ever come across something like that in a job IRL, run. Run the fuck away. The second thing we learned from Phone Guy is, quote, if I were forced to sing those same stupid songs for 20 years and I never got a bath, whoa there, hang on a minute. Is that basically a confession that these things haven't been cleaned in 20 years? And of course we now know that's where the dead children's bodies were hidden. Interesting, isn't it? It seems like Scott may have had more of the story worked out early on than we gave him credit for. All these puzzle pieces are fitting into place pretty well considering this was all from the first game. Other things we learned from Phone Guy include the information that the animatronics used to be allowed to walk around during the day. But that was before the bite of 87. Someone had a run-in with an animatronic during the day when the restaurant was open and lost their frontal lobe to a bite. Now again, since it's been years since the initial game came out, we can now see that event happen in all its 8-bit glory. Phone Guy's reasoning in FNAF 1 for the animatronics trying to kill you is that they'll think you're an endoskeleton without a suit on, so they'll try to stuff you into a mascot suit. This seems suspect to me. If we think about that, it doesn't really make any sense at all. First off, all the I'm gonna kill you animatronics already have endoskeletons in them, or they wouldn't be able to move around during the night. So what animatronic are these horror mascots about to stuff me into, huh? There's holes in your story, Phone Guy. I sense your bullshit. Remember, all this information came out in the first game. We got so much to work with before we even knew the entire story. Now, let's get into the theories regarding FNAF 1. First off, we should acknowledge the bite of 87. When you input 1987 into the custom night, Golden Freddy automatically appears. A solid indication that Golden Freddy was the culprit in the bite of 87. In addition to that, we know based on the Golden Freddy suit that the endoskeleton has been taken out and the suit was deactivated. I mean, it's still haunted, but it should be able to move on its own. Yet, the rules of safety that are posted in the East Hall corner specifically say, don't touch Freddy, singling him out from the other animatronics. It makes sense that the animatronic that bit someone's frontal lobe off got deactivated and his alter ego has a warning about not touching. Of course, now we know that it was indeed Golden Freddy who bit a kid's frontal lobe. What I'm trying to show is that there were clues as early as FNAF 1 to let us know that, yet we didn't get the obvious answer until FNAF 4. It makes me wonder what else we may have missed about the plot of this game just because we've been looking at the recent games and not the older ones. But that's exactly what this video is for, isn't it? It is. I mean, that's why I'm making the video. In addition to everything else, we get the newspaper clippings that take the place of the rules of safety every so often and lay out the story about children getting lured by a man in a mascot suit, their bodies never being found, and here's the important part, the suspect was seen on video surveillance and captured. This entire time, literally years since the original game came out, we've been wondering who the murderer is, where he is, and with FNAF's sister location out, we thought we had caught our purple guy murderer. But here's the thing, the murderer is in jail. He was caught and convicted. The real killer, much like Elvis, has left the building. Again, this is an extremely overlooked detail. The reason we've believed, quote, purple guy, emphasis on purple, to be the killer is because we see a purple man kill a child during one of the minigames in FNAF 2. But we now know that Michael Afton, aka Purple Guy, is not the killer. He is trying to save the children who were killed. Why would he be trying to save the souls that he put 6 feet under? No, he's innocent in all of this, but was taken over by the animatronics and somehow lived despite being completely gutted from the inside out. So that begs the question of how and why we got confused about William Afton and Michael Afton, and why the killer is shown in purple just like Michael. Here's a thought. Wouldn't it make sense for his father to be labeled with the same color palette as Michael? What we're looking at here is a case of everyone believing the purple guy is the killer, but in reality, the purple guy refers better to Michael Afton than his father. William Afton is the most likely choice to be the killer. His coloring matching his son's during 8-bit cutscenes would make sense, especially if those cutscenes are how the animatronics see the events of the past. As Michael said in his cutscene, the animatronics first thought he was his father. They mistook him for William. That would make sense if the animatronics see them both as purple. Yet, they are completely different people. Suddenly, this issue is starting to make a lot more sense. If we have two purple guys, one being William Afton and one being his son Michael Afton, all the details about one killing a child while the other is trying to save them starts to make sense. So keep this in the back of your mind because we're going to return to this mistaken identity issue more than once throughout this video. Let's move on to FNAF 2. I'd consider FNAF 2 and FNAF 4 to be the most important games in the entire franchise. There's so much information and so many animatronics in FNAF 2. So let's begin, shall we? FNAF 2 starts off much the same way as FNAF 1. We got Phone Guy giving us the lowdown on our new minimum wage job. Oh, man, did I forget to mention that Phone Guy dies during his call on night 4 of FNAF 1? Well, I guess that's one of the many reasons that prove this game is a prequel. I mean, seriously, if you're still trying to argue with people on that point about FNAF 2, you're just wrong, okay? Anyway, much like FNAF 1, Phone Guy gives us some interesting information during his FNAF 2 calls. First of all, we learned that something awful happened at the old location, so Fazbear Entertainment spent an arm and a leg on facial recognition software for the animatronics that interface with a criminal database. Basically, they spent a lot of money on anti-diddle software. This is good to know for a few reasons. First of all, it means that the animatronics are absolutely able to recognize someone by sight. And since the FNAF 1 animatronics are here, it also makes sense that they are equipped with the same anti-diddle updates. So the question really becomes, how good is this software and how easy is it to hack? You see, we've already discussed how William and Michael Afton have had a case of mistaken identity. If these animatronics see an 8-bit as the death minigame seem to represent, then how hard is it to bypass their security software, or use it for your own advantage? We've already seen in FNAF 1 that someone was tinkering with the animatronics. Is it such a stretch to say this could have been happening in FNAF 2? What I'm getting at here is that we know William Afton had a hand in starting up the Fazbear franchise. He was just supposed to be more on the business side of things. However, if we take the FNAF books into account, we learned that William Afton has his own company called Afton Robotics, and that he knows how to build animatronics. If someone knows how to construct robotics, is it possible that person would also know how to bypass a security system or make it work in their favor? I certainly think it's a reasonable assumption. Let's keep all that in the back of our heads as we continue going through FNAF 2. Phone Guy also tells us the animatronics never had a proper night programmed in, so they tend to wander throughout the night looking for people. A temporary solution is donning the Fredbear mask when one walks in, and of course winding the music box. Now, the Fredbear mask makes some sense. If they see you as just another animatronic, they aren't going to come up and try to interact with you. But we've heard nothing about musical or any type of auditory cues from Phone Guy in the past. This is part of what makes the puppet special. It's obviously on a different level than the other animatronics. In fact, it isn't really an animatronic at all, is it? The fact that none of the others have a night mode, yet the puppet is in constant slumber, makes me think that the puppet isn't an animatronic at all. We know for sure that the puppet is haunted by a dead child, but that child behaves as you'd expect a child to behave. It responds to lullabies, and if it wakes up in the middle of the night, it looks for an adult, aka you. The puppet is definitely the original child who died at the hands of a purple man. Again, not necessarily Purple Guy, who I'm defining as Michael Afton. Hence the similarities in crying streaks between the dead child and the puppet. We see the puppet give the gift of life during one of the death minigames, which breathes some sense into why the puppet acts differently than the rest of the animatronics. The puppet was the first one killed, the first child's soul who was stuck on Earth, and the ferryman for the others to come. Now, let's get into some of the most important parts of FNAF 2. On night 4, Phone Guy tells you to avoid eye contact with the animatronics, that they've been acting strange towards the staff, and also that a day shift position just became available. Now, many people connected these oddities with the bite of 87, saying that it happened during the day shift on night 4. I'd like to suggest a different theory here. What if William Afton was working the day shift during this time? This is a prequel to FNAF 1. The suspect of the murders hasn't been apprehended yet, and we've already established that it's quite quite likely that Afton would be able to mess around with the software the animatronics run on. What if instead we're hearing about William leaving after messing with the animatronics to get them ready to kill? Wouldn't that make a lot of sense? All the animatronics are suddenly acting strange, and suddenly one of the day shift guards gets out of dodge. To me, this is a neon arrow pointing to that security guard being guilty of fucking with the animatronics. And now that they've been programmed, they're acting aggressively. But honestly, these are just a few of the theories I've come up with. Unfortunately, we've run out of time for this video, but part 2 will include the rest of the games and of course the book, so stay tuned for that next week. Also, if you've been looking for a stylish watch that doesn't break the bank, our friends over at Movement are here to help. They're giving Treesicle fans $15 off by using the coupon code TREESICLE. Just click the link in the description, mvmt.com/Treesicle. In case you didn't know, Movement was founded by 2 broke college kids who wanted to wear cool watches but couldn't afford them, so they started their own company instead. You can get watches from them for a fourth of the price it would cost in a department store, and you can use that money for games, and even games, or more games. You can also get these dope sunglasses for a good price too, and I love the watch they sent me. It's super badass, super sexy, and I actually used to wear a watch every single day in elementary school, middle school, and high school, but then I stopped for a while and I wanted to start wearing one again, but I couldn't quite find one that was me, you know? And then, well, they sent me this one, and now it's part of my wardrobe. But yeah, if you're interested in sunglasses or watches, then definitely check out I told you it was coming, and here it is. The second part to the Ultimate FNAF Guide. But before I do that, let me first dust off some cobwebs. If you haven't seen the first part, I would highly recommend checking that out because, well, you know, 1 comes before 2. Unless, of course, you don't give a damn about the first 2 FNAF games and the implication their theories have on the rest of the series. In that case, you're totally fine right here. Either way, last time we went over all the implications the first 2 games have on the lore of the series as a whole. I actually took the video a step further and went into the difference between Michael Afton and William Afton, the possibility that William Afton and his son are seen as the same color by the animatronics, and since the minigames are all in 8-bit style, we could have easily been confusing Michael for his father or vice versa. Basically, I went over a bunch of shit in that video, so if you haven't seen it, don't remember it, or just want a refresher before we move on to FNAF 3, now would be the time to do that. Everyone all caught up? I don't really know why I'm asking. I literally can't hear anything anybody is saying, so I'm just gonna assume it's a yes, and then I'm gonna move on. Last time we finished with FNAF 2, so this time we're gonna start with FNAF 3, because again, the 3 comes after 2. FNAF 3 is set 30 years in the future after the events that took place at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. You are yet again another night guard, but in this game your role is more than that. You're working at a horror attraction built around the events of the Fazbear franchise, and not only are you on guard duty, but you're also a part of the attraction as the security guard. So the idea was that people would walk through the attraction, learn about the lore of the franchise, get all scared, and see you as part of the attraction playing the night guard, while also you're actually doing that job. Way to cut down on expenses, Fazbear Fright. Why hire an actor when you can hire the real deal? Anyway, the attraction hasn't really opened yet, so you're just there helping to test shit out and making sure nothing goes wrong. But this is a FNAF game. This is going to go about as well as asking your high school math teacher to the prom. At best, they say no. At worst, you get them fired. And speaking of fires, our new phone guy makes sure to let us know that it's super important that nothing catches fire. Captain Obvious over here, right? So the game starts out pretty easy. The first night really has nothing to kill you with. However, on the second night, new phone guy informs you that they found a real animatronic from the restaurant, so now it's part of the attraction. Say hello to your good buddy Springtrap. He's very much alive and not super happy, so let's try to not die to him, okay? One of the other things they found in the old restaurant were training tapes starring our old pal, Phone Guy OG. So let's talk about what we learned from Phone Guy through these old cassette tapes. Phone Guy's old tapes reveal a couple of important aspects about the Fazbear franchise. At one point, Freddy's had 2 Springlock suits that could be used as either animatronics or costumes that a person could wear. To wear the Springlock suits, you needed a crank to recoil and compress the animatronic parts around the sides of the suit. By doing this, the animatronic part of the suit made enough room for a human to wear and use the suit. However, the slightest pressure or moisture could cause the suit to malfunction, releasing the machinery and killing the person inside. Now, if I was told that someone carelessly bumping into me might kill me, I probably wouldn't want to wear one of those suits, but the FNAF franchise has never really been about safety. This video is sponsored by Movement Watches. Click that link in the description and use coupon code TREACICLE. Or they wouldn't be able to move around during the night. So what animatronic are these horror mascots about to stuff me into, huh? I told you it was coming, and here it is. The second part to the Ultimate FNAF Guide. But before I do that, let me first dust... Now, this makes complete sense based on what we see in FNAF 3. Springtrap always goes towards Balloon Boy's call when we use it. Now, here's where this information gets interesting. We know that Purple Guy, who we've defined as Michael Afton, not William Afton, is the one who gets stuck in the golden Bonnie suit. We see
the video here, guys. I really hope you guys like and subscribe. And peace out. Bye.